This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. And in Pensacola, Florida, a JCP promoted show with the Rock and Rolls versus the Midnights on that same card, Magnum on that same card with Tully, even the Road Warriors working with the Russians. The main event is Flair versus Dusty. So that Pensacola show is loaded for bear, but strangely, there's only 2,000 folks there. Do you think the Pensacola market was softening? Is September a bad month in that era? Was there not adequate promotion? Why do you think that show would only have 2,000 folks there with that loaded of a card?
Wow. And what was the middle show?
So you had 3 shows that day on the 15th, one in College Park, Georgia, one in Norfolk, Virginia. But then the big show to me is Pensacola, Florida. It's Buddy Landell over Sam Houston, Manny Fernandez over Crusher Khrushchev, Brad and Steve Armstrong over Arn and Ole by DQ. Jimmy Valiant in there with the Barbarian. The Rock and Rolls are going to beat the Midnight Express. Tommy Rich is going to defeat Adrian Street. Magnum TA is going to go to a double count out with Tully Blanchard. The Road Warriors are going to beat the Russians when Ivan is pinned. And then in the main event, Ric Flair beats Dusty Rhodes by disqualification. That feels like a freaking Starcade. And there's like 2,000 fans here in Pensacola.
I cannot tell you why that did not draw better. That's unless it was not locally promoted as heavily as it should have been. They just relied on the cable. One thing, I tell you something that is a very real thing, and people may use it as a cop out, but I know it's real because I've been around 40 years. School starting.
Yep.
Made a difference in our business. September, notoriously, was not a good month for wrestling.
And let me pile on there, Arn, because I feel like sometimes people think, oh, that's an excuse, because Bruce will sometimes say, well, the new gas station opened. But you got to appreciate this is a socioeconomically depressed area. The median income, household income, is not exactly what you might imagine. And when kids go back to school, it's not just a matter of, oh, they can't get down there. No, they can't afford to take the kids because you've got all these new fees. You got to pay for the kid's football helmet. You got to pay for him some new books. You got to pay for him some new shoes. You got to pay for him some new clothes. And if you got a whole litter of those little rugrats, you got all that going. Plus you got lunch money and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of newfound expenses whenever kids will go back to school. And, you know, maybe that $10 on wrestling just didn't quite check all the boxes that you needed it to that month.
Well, that and the fact that Jim Crockett Promotions was a hot commodity that time. We were flaming up, right? So I bet you the ticket prices were very high.
Yeah.
You know, that's another negative. Plus the fact that, you know, all those years prior to that, Continental had ran Pensacola every single Sunday. So it had been ran a lot prior to us getting there.
So it probably feels like, well, I'll just see them next week.
Yeah. I mean, all these guys, we can't afford to pay those Jim Crockett Promotions, but our guys who we're familiar with anyway will be back next Sunday. So we'll just go to that show. They could all be reasons that, you know, 2,000 people, that's not much. And I bet you the rent on that Civic Center was not cheap.
Fayetteville, North Carolina is where you're at the very next day on September 16th. Think about that. You're going from Pensacola to Fayetteville one day later. It's once again going to be a bunkhouse match. Dusty, Magnum, and Sam on one side, Tully, Ole, and Arn on the other. On the 18th, you're going to be wrestling the Rock and Roll Express along with your partner, Ole, to a draw at the Dorton Arena. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.